Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you may be. You are either here live watching us in living color, or you're probably watching this recorded on YouTube, and either one is totally okay and acceptable and greatly appreciated. My name's Scott Morris. I am the Director of Business Development for GTS Distribution's Gaming Division. I am joined today for one of our retailer to publisher webinars with two wonderful people in the organization of gaming. I have Rachel and Lauren, who are here from XYZ Game Labs. XYZ is a new partner slash not new partner. And the reason I say that is they've been around, they've been making games for a little bit, and we just now are working with them to bring them into distribution with GTS. So this is the first time that you're seeing anything from them from us, and we're really excited because it's a really good time. They have two products we're going to talk about today that are aptly opportune for the holidays, especially one that I think has a amazingly unique thematic to it, and we'll talk about that as we go through. But as always, questions are all on the table. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you like. If you're here live, you can do that really easy by just hovering over your video window. There's a little chat bubble at the bottom, and you can either send a message to the hosts and panelists, which are myself, Lauren, and Rachel, or you can send a message to everyone so all the other retailers can see that. Either way, like we talked about earlier before, I'll watch that and kind of work questions in as we need to for everything. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and this is recorded, by all means, please feel free to leave us a question below in the comments. We'll get back to you as soon as possible on it, be able to answer any kind of questions you have on that. With that, though, I don't want to spoil too much of the fun and possibly a surprise. We'll leave that for later. So Lauren, Rachel, I will kick it over to you and let you both get started.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
I'm Rachel. I have lots of fun things to show you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and get started by just letting you guys know that we're XYZ Game Labs. We create games with quirky themes and tricky decisions. Those are definitely really unique value propositions for your customers. We're looking at something very different, something that is not usually on your shelves, and that's going to be really exciting this holiday season. I wanted to just kind of briefly introduce you to our team. We have Adam, Noah, and then of course Lauren, Jordan, Brendan, and Rob, and then myself as the newest member of the team. We are a group of teachers, marketers, and coders. So it's a very well-rounded team. We're able to support in a lot of different ways, and especially our marketing team. We would like to get you guys a lot of resources because and run a lot of ad campaigns that are end user friendly, so that way they're sending them to your stores. So I wanted to note that our mission is to invent new gamers, and how that translates to you is hopefully new customers. So we do that by creating engaging games that have a depth and complexity that grows with the skill level of your players. That means that you have the complete non-gamers that you have at your family reunion, all the way into your game night group that is wanting something kind of meaty. It works out both ways. They are just gorgeous. The art that they have put into this makes it very attractive. Definitely something that is going to jump off the shelf at you. And then finally, accessible. Again, we're back to the easy to learn and approachable based on a skill level. So that way, hopefully bringing you guys a new demographic. So first off, we have Archravels. You can see it back whatever way. Yes, they're back here. Archravels is super quirky in the theme department in that this is all about fiber arts. There are not any other, you've got patchwork and calico that go into the quilting aspect of things, and I hear that those are extremely big sellers often. But this one is actually knitting and crocheting. One of the fun things that they actually included in the game is a pattern. So if you see here, you can actually create this little octopus, and a lot of gamer knitters or knitters will use it to be like a first player marker, things like that. It's a really fun way to cross-pollinate that. You're basically collecting supplies by going to the yarn bazaar and grabbing yarn, and then you're crafting patterns, and finally you're completing projects. It's like the whole engine all the way up to Etsy. Like that is the whole point, to make perfect sense that way. And it is for 2 to 4 players, 30 to 45 minutes, and then obviously 8+ years, because it's a very approachable game. Our MSRP is $45, and it has everything that you see on this screen is part of the retail copy. It has an entire, let me see, we'll go more into in the components here, but this right here, I have some blinged out copy here. I decided to make these little yarn balls because I love this game. But this game trays actually comes with it, as well as these little game trays containers. Those are all in that base game. So let's take a look. Now Scott did a really good job of explaining this on the last webinar, but this is our BGG entry, and I don't know if everybody is familiar with this, but it basically just kind of goes over the same stats and then talks about the mechanisms, if that's something that you're really familiar with card drafting, pattern building, set collection, and then variable player powers. The variable player powers comes into play when you have your asymmetric different players that have different specialties. Just like in the fiber arts world, everybody's a little bit better at something. There are your bargain shoppers, you've got your yarn spinners, you've got your yarn dyers that can make more different types of colors and things like that. So I just love how that's going. And then again, yes, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, can you jump back one slide for me for a second?
Sure.
Jump in on a couple of things on this. So
yeah,
one of the things that a lot of the retailers know is I ended up having, a lot of phone calls every week with different retailers and a lot of phone calls every week with sales reps as well. One of the things that I always try to impress on the sales reps is that BGG can be what I call a sea of sixes, meaning that there are just thousands upon thousands of games that are rated a 6.0 or right in around that range. And I always tell people, once you get to 7, that's very good. Once you get to 7.5, that's where things start to kick in and really kind of take over. The other thing that I always found interesting is that, BGG has grown tremendously in the last couple of years. I think last time they made a public announcement about it, it was something like 2 million plus accounts that were created on BGG. And I think someone had made the comment that they made it from 1 million to 2 million, like 400% faster than they made it from like 100,000 to 1 million or something like that. But those statistics that you see in the center there at the bottom, there's only a very small percentage of people that actually use BGG's tools for things like logging plays or putting ownership and things like that. So we tend to look at it as kind of like a 10 to 15% number, meaning that for every 100 units that you see are owned on BGG, there's really more like 1,000 units out there in the wild, and if not more. So when you see something that has like 600 or 1,000, ownership tags on BGG, that can sometimes lead to like 6,000 to 10,000 units that are actually out there in the unit in the wild, which is really kind of cool. So those are little things that most people, when they look at a BGG page, they tend to get kind of focused on. Oh, it's very pretty, and I love the pictures, and I love the videos, and all that's great, and it is awesome. But there's a lot of like underlying information that you can get and glean from all that stuff, which is really kind of cool. And I do have to admit, Scott Pittner just chimed in. He said, my wife and I enjoy playing Archravels. It is a phenomenal 2-player game. My wife and I have played several times as well. There's a specific card. Actually, there's 2 specific cards that I try to get, but I won't steal the thunder too much from Rachel because I know she wants to share some of them later. But there's a lot of pop culture references in the game, which make it really, really kind of cool. But yeah, this is a very, very unique theme and very, very well done, I think, in terms of like not just playing a game where you're like, oh, they just kind of put this theme on it and everything. I mean, everything you do in the game feels as though it's aligned to the theme very, very well. Plus, at a time where we're getting a lot more casual consumer foot traffic walking into stores. I mean, as we have all seen, there's been a lot more advertisements, or not advertisements, I guess media is the right word to use. There's been a lot more articles in media about people needing to buy now for the holidays and not waiting until end of November, beginning of December timeframe because of the supply chain shortages and the challenges we're all facing with that. So as those casual consumers start walking in, this is something that is really opportunely timed for them, because I don't know of anyone that would ever look at a game like this and tell me, oh, well, that offends me. Like, it's if you're offended by fabric arts, we have to have a whole nother conversation. But I think it's a very approachable theme, I guess, is where I'm going with that. So I think that's all really good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, thanks. This right here kind of shows how the market looks. You across the top there, you have all of your yarn that you have in the bazaar. That's where you go shopping. You have your orders that you have across, or your projects across the bottom. They show what your options are for gaining points as you are completing your patterns and moving on with that. And yes, I know it says there, and you wonder, one tangled cat meeple. Yep, there is. There's a tangled cat meeple. It's pretty amazing. And so just have to point that one out. So I think that Lauren is going to go ahead and take over for me here and walk you through this.
Sure. So my name is Lauren Nepomuceno. In the previous slide, I am the Director of Communications at XYZ Game Labs. And I would like to cover for you the gameplay overview. So first things first, you're sitting at your table, you get to choose a character that you'd like to play in Archravels. As you can see here, there are 4 character types, 8 characters, because they are double-sided. We purposely made them double-sided so that any player who is going to the table can find a character that they relate to, that they want to play for the game. So for example, Rebecca and Theo, the green characters at the top left, they are the thrifty shoppers. They both have the same powers, but different artwork. So Theo is there and he's observing the yarn and looking for deals, and Rebecca is also checking out the yarn. The only difference between the two is their favorite project. So Theo's favorite project is the wrist warmers, and if he happens upon the wrist warmers in the yarn bazaar and he crafts it, he gets 5 extra points just because it's his favorite. So there's a little bit of individualism there. And then as you can see, there is that custom action marker, which is that green token that you move on the right side of the board. So similar to Scythe, or similar to other mechanics, you can't pick the same action each turn. You have to cross that quadrant border to pick your next action for your next turn. So each player has a shop and a craft at the top 2. So as you can see, Theo has 4, so he's a thrifty shopper. He could shop more than anyone else, whereas the other players have 3 at the top left quadrant. And then in the top right quadrant of the action selector marker, there is a yarn bowl. So if you're not into knitting, essentially it's a bowl that you put your yarn in and you feed the yarn through that little swirly thing so it doesn't get tangled while you're knitting and crocheting. So that is a craft action, and that allows the player to craft 2 items following the patterns at the bottom of the boards, which we'll get to the pattern tiles later. And then in the bottom left quadrant, there is a shop and craft, so shop 2, craft 1. And then in the bottom right, it's the exchange icon. Essentially, that is a color fixing action where you could take, say you have 4 purple and you need 3 blue instead, you take the 4 purple that's in your bowl and exchange that for 4 blue or whatever color you need. So every player has those 3 ones. The only thing that's really unique and really special about Archravels is that bottom left corner, the craft or the shop and craft. We really dive into the fiber arts world. In fact, one of my first goals when we were designing and developing this game was to join all the fiber art Facebook groups and communities and understand their memes, understand their lingo, understand their quirks, understand their values that matter to them, understand their favorite projects that we can incorporate into these special requests so that, we know who this audience truly is. So in the bottom left, we have each player is a little bit different. So Theo in the top left and Rebecca, they shop and can craft one. They're the thrifty shoppers. Derek and Amara on the top right, they're the master crafters. They could craft more than anyone else. And theirs is their bottom left quadrant is the same as Theo's. Then we get to the bottom two, Ted, Eliza, Neha, and Alex. Ted and Eliza, they are the yarn spinners. So essentially in crafting, you could spin up your own yarn, taking, fiber from, sheep or llamas or, wool, and you could spin up your yarn. So instead of shopping from the yarn bazaar, they could actually take 3 from the yarn supply because they can make their own yarn, which is very thematic to what actually happens in the fiber arts world. Neha and Alex on the right quadrant, they could shop to and craft one of any color because they are the color specialists. They could ignore the color requirements because they could dye their own yarn. Color requirements don't matter to them. The rules of those patterns don't apply. So that's another way that we really tied in, the different ways to manipulate yarn and to pull it into this asymmetric powers of the game that I know a lot of crafters are like, wow, you really thought this one through. And it's like, yeah, because we did the research. And it really helps that my best friend is also a master crafter. She has a master's in fine arts and she is literally my best friend. So she was one of our crafting consultants who made sure that this game really sung through to her community.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's, from my perspective, this is something that I'm really happy to see. Because I think that it's something we need more of in the industry overall, but the representation of all different types of people in the game in a way that is not like doing it for the sake of representation is a tremendous design.
Yeah, let's go to the previous slide. I want to tell you one story because I think it's really important to share. Neha, she is the color specialist. And one thing that was so important about Neha, and one important conversation that I had with my crafting consultant and best friend, Nicole, was that, just like as it's important to have diversity in board gaming, it's just as important to have diversity in the fiber arts world. There are still issues there. A lot of people don't think that people of color are capable of, knitting or crafting. But Neha is really important because India has a rich history with color fabric dyeing with their spices. So it was important to pay homage to that contribution to fiber arts and to that culture. And so Neha was one specific character. I'm like, we need to have Neha as a color specialist. And all of these characters really do have a backstory like that. So, Ted is a graduate art student crush of that my best friend had a crush on. Derek was really important because he's in a wheelchair. And at the time that we were developing this game, my best friend was dealing with chronic pain and she had to be in a wheelchair for a bit. So I was like, well, she's a master crafter. And I want a wheelchair represented in this game because she needs to be in this game. So Derek became handicapped as a result of that. So all of these characters really do have backstories, and there's intentional design and intentional creative selection there to make sure that this game really relates to people.
Well, I love it and I applaud it. So I think it's great.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it, as you can tell. All right, and so I kind of covered this in the last slide, but there's 2 phases. You could, it's your action selection phase. So you move your action selection marker across the quadrants. You could go shopping. So you take cards from the yarn bazaar and then you pick the color of yarn chits and put it into your bowl. You could craft an item. So following the patterns at the bottom of your board. So for example, Neha here, she has 3 orange yarn is required to make a teddy bear. So taking the 3 orange, she now has a teddy bear. And then exchange, if you got too much of one, you could swap out, red for another, 2 red for, I don't know, 2 purple, a different color that she may need. So that is the action phase. And then the second phase of your turn is the restock phase. Now the restock phase is really fun. This is where if you did go shopping, you have to restock the Yarn Bazaar. That is where the event cards come up. That is where the special request cards come up. And the special request cards basically emulate what any crafter or knitter experiences. Oh, you know how to knit? Can you knit me those Bernie mittens? So that is exactly what the special request is. People are asking you to knit stuff for them. So you get to choose whether or not you want to craft those items, or you can give it to someone else. And if you don't complete the special request at the end of the game, you lose those points. Events come up, that's where the Tangled Cat comes up. If you get a Tangled Cat card, you could prevent someone from crafting in your next turn. So there's a little bit of a take that there, but there's also some nice things that come up, because really the crafting community is about embracing kindness in some sort of way. So there are nice cards like Friendly Clerk, anyone gets some free yarn. So there's some ways to help you out along the way, or other opportunities to get different yarn besides shopping. And then there's two more things you could do in the restock phase. One, which I really love, the learning patterns one. So this is actually a mechanism that Tom Vassell and Jamie Stagmeyer really like in this game. It's the ability of taking an item that you crafted, like a teddy bear, and learning the pattern. So you turn in that teddy bear back into the supply, and you get to flip over your pattern tile. So instead of having or needing 3 orange to craft a teddy bear, you've leveled up your character. You've learned a pattern, and now you just need 3 of any one color. It does not have to be orange. So it makes it easier for you to complete project in the end. But you also have to, balance out whether or not you do want to sacrifice that item, so that you, instead of completing a project at the end. So for example, nap time requires a blanket and a teddy bear, but if you use that teddy bear and by learning your pattern, you won't be able to use it for completing projects, but you still get the point value that it's worth, which is 3 points. So yeah, that's a really interesting way, a little bit of a level of strategy there that is just like, how do I time my actions and my choices properly here, and how do I compare to my other Archravels at the table to see whether or not I should be turning in or learning this pattern. So really interesting level of strategy there. And then the final item action is completing projects. So if you have a teddy bear, if you have a blanket, you could turn in those items and maximize your points by completing the nap time project. So the blanket is worth 5 points. The teddy bear is worth 3 points. So individually they're worth 8, but you could turn it in and get 15 points. So yeah.
Awesome.
Any questions? I know that was a lot.
There's a lot.
All right.
It's
and then
actually
finally,
from
these are some of the cards. So these are the project cards on the left that every player is competing against. And then these are the special projects or the special requests that come up to the right. We made some fun references to nerd culture that we love. So, I'm sure we're going to be playing that game that Rachel is going to be talking through about guess that culture reference. But yeah, again, these are ways to earn points and possibly lose points. So if you do not complete Snugglesaurus by the end of the game and it was given to you, or you accepted that special request and you didn't complete it, that's minus 13 points. So choose wisely.
Yes. Or if you pull that the last turn, you throw it down on somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. You could really stock them up. And that's another thing. You could just keep on giving project special requests to one player so that they can't, you have one less person to compete against to complete, the snow day project that everyone is crafting towards.
Yeah, I mentioned this to Rachel the other day, but and Scott mentioned earlier about how he likes to play with his wife, and my wife and I have played several times as 2-player games, and for as very like approachable as this theme is, and as adorable and very visual that the game is, if you have some pretty serious gamers sitting down to play this, it can get cutthroat.
Right. It's got the depth.
My wife has a joke that she says family ends at the game table because everything is competition there. And there were some times where it's like, well, I could do this, but I could just stick you with this. So
exactly. And this is a game that, like, I'm going to quote Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple when he first reviewed this game. He said, it's deceitfully strategic. Like, very innocent, cute, colorful, cozy theme. And yeah, there is some rivalry there. So
awesome. Jeremy's awesome too. So that's good stuff.
That's great. Well, we do have the tangled cat here, but I'm going to just let it sit while I throw these references at you. So what we can do is, if you guys are ready to jump into the chat, I'm going to go ahead and put up, I'm going to hold up these special requests, and you tell me if you get it right away. So actually, my son just got a magic deck, and he's like, Mom, this is the same thing that's in Archravels. So let's see here. Anybody know what that is? It's just a shoulder monster. That's what we're calling it.
You might actually, Rachel, what could be really good.
Oh yeah.
Stop sharing, and that way we see your full screen rather than just a
Will do.
Although
I
that
remember now.
is awesome.
It is. You're right. So here it is. This is the shoulder monster. Yes, that's right, Jeremy. Good job. The beholder. Now, we had trouble with this one on Friday. I wonder if you guys will get it. What is this trouble? So we got that one. And see, nobody's jumping in on that one. I'm telling you, you had such a good you see Scott and couldn't see the picture. Oh,
let me see if I can spotlight Rachel for everyone. That may work.
Yes. Okay, well, here we go. So that's trouble. Yes, good
Trouble.
job. Yes, trouble. There they are. This is timely from yesterday. That's tattered
card.
sweater. Yep, your favorite thing you always have to do.
Yep.
And let's see. Wasn't it Derek that does that one too? Does anybody know? Yes, Freddy Krueger. And does anybody know who Tom is? Who was it? Somebody on Friday you were like, you get 5 extra bonus points if you know.
Yeah, Joetta just got that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now this one's a little bit more obscure because it's a song reference. Who's gonna get it?
It's a great band reference.
It is. It's a great band reference. All right, I love that we're getting Tom Baker in there. That's great. Too sexy for my pants.
That's it. For anyone who can't see the chat, Joetta just asked if that was too sexy for my pants, which is really.
That one is Weezer. That's a good one.
Weezer. Yep, I've come undone.
Yep, this is Laser Sword. I'm sure no one can catch this one. It hasn't been merchandised to death at all.
The lightsaber and the beholder are two that I think that if they don't know it, we may have to talk about what kind of line of work they're in. So
yes, right. Oh, and I was actually going to put all 4 of these up because they are a set, and this is the only way you can get a fraction point in the game if you fulfill one of these, because you've got 9 3/4 as your.
That is so. It is the best whenever I see a comment where like I lost by 3/4 of a point.
Right. Yes, you're right. A black person with a purple lightsaber, Mace Windu. Very, very well done. Yeah. All right, and we got a dwarf beard. That's a pretty specific dwarf. And let's see here. Yes, Gimli. And this one. I wonder who that one always that's not my jam. So I always what is that one? This
that
definitely.
One,
yes,
that one is a really iconic one because the crafting community is obsessed with that specific outfit that he's wearing.
That's interesting. Really? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
like because it's crochet. It is crochet that suit.
Oh, that's
Okay.
amazing. So that's David Bowie, right?
Yeah, it's David Bowie's spacesuit, and it's like the fact that it's a crocheted suit is like
A big
yeah,
deal. That's so cool.
big deal in the fiber arts world.
Speaking of a crocheted hat here, that like, I wonder who's gonna get that one. That one I absolutely love.
I actually own one of those.
Me too. I actually had when I did the unboxing video, I had the nails, like I had the nail decals looking like that.
Nice.
And this one is definitely a niche one. It was actually, if you are familiar with the Greater Than Games game, Trogdor.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
Trogdor. Thank you,
Yeah.
Scott. I like Scott a lot. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites. And then finally, this one was fantastic because it
Oh, I
is
love that.
actually what they're called.
The Infinity Scars.
The Infinity Scarf. I mean, how cool is that? So those are ours there. Burninating.
Yeah, someone actually crafted, like crocheted a real life infinity scarf. And
With that, cool.
She didn't even know at first that it was reference to the gauntlet. And then her son's like, the gauntlet. I was like, oh wow.
I love it. I mean, it's just so much fun to play a game that pays homage to those little things. So
Yeah.
very well done. My favorite part for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and head back over here. And you talked about this a little bit earlier, that Tom Vassell really enjoyed that part of the upgrade system, and obviously gave it the seal of approval. So that was pretty cool. I am going to go ahead and switch back over to Lauren to have her tell you all about our next title, which is Borderlands Tinitina's Robot Tea Party. And here you go.
All right. So this is Borderlands Tinitina's Robot Tea Party. It is the first tabletop card game in the Borderlands universe. So I don't know if anyone is a big Borderlands fan. We are. We love Claptrap. And what do you do when you're bored on Pandora? You torture Claptrap. So this is what this game really is about. It's $20 MSRP. The whole point of the game is first person to get your Claptrap decked out with the correct parts according to his DLC skin wins. So you're able to dive into the dumpster just like Crazy Earl. You get to swipe some parts with Mordecai. You could build your bots using your action phase, or you could punch off the wrong parts using brick, and we'll get into that later.
Awesome.
But yeah, this is.
Oh, I did want to go ahead and throw in just the actual mechanisms. I know we've got some technical people that, this is hand management, set collection, and my little part that I think is interesting is the take that element of this. I've played this with my kids, and basically you're always adding a piece to your bot, but it doesn't always have to be your bot. You could put the wrong pieces on somebody else's bot and remove the right pieces from someone else's bot too. There's that little bit that is really fun, but again, it's really lightweight. You can see the weight is like 1 out of 5. Very easy to pick up and put down in front of teenagers that are sitting there bored while they're over for your Christmas or your Thanksgiving dinner. And there's a ton of talk about Borderlands right now with their Bunkers and Badasses products coming out. They're doing a big, huge push. And also you can let your customers know that in the bottom of the box, as part of the collaboration with Borderlands, we actually have a Borderlands 3 code. So got a little bit of that in there also. So back to you, Lauren.
Yeah, so this is Tinytina. This artwork for her is for the Party Foul, which is an action cards. But yeah, this game contains 55 Claptrap parts, 5 versions of Claptrap. You have the Wizard, the Sheriff, the Gentleman, the Pirate, and the original Claptrap. You have 21 action cards, so that's where you get a bit of the take that. So you have a party foul, which essentially is Tina saying, you're not allowed to do that. It could be played outside of your turn. So she is the most powerful card in the deck. So there's only 2 of her in the whole deck. You may have some other action cards like Moxie, where you could take a spin and you could gamble and look at the top 7 cards. And from there, pick out what card you need. There's a little bit of a take that like Mordecai, who you could swipe from another player's hand a card. So if you know that they have a good card, you could take it back from them. You have dig into trash, which is a
dumpster dive, right?
Yeah, it's a dumpster dive where it's Crazy Earl. He's in a doll dumpster, and you can go through the discard pile to find the appropriate card or action or part card that you need. And then there's also 4 wild Claptrap cards. So essentially those are like Digistruct cards. You could apply it to any skin. So if you're a pirate, if you're a sheriff, if you're a gentleman, you could use that wheel card there to attach it.
Awesome. So basically you're winning by being the first to finish your Claptrap by building 2 arms, a hat, a wheel, and they all have to match your Claptrap body. I went ahead and pulled up this one right here, which is the wizard, which is my favorite little Claptrap body. And it comes with some of the cards go together like this. You've got the bottom of your Claptrap there, your wheel. And then like she was saying, you do have these wild or Digistruct pieces that would also work. This would be a wild that you could use. And I know that I'm small right now, but you can also see the stuff up on the side. But so at the beginning, so each turn you're going to go through building, discarding, and drawing. So you're going to attach a part. Now, it does say attach a part, but that doesn't necessarily mean to your Claptrap. It could be to anyone's Claptrap. You could also play an action card. And let's see, a couple of the ones that we didn't get to were Bring the Pain, which is scrapping a part from any Claptrap. And you can also attach one. So you could scrap from your Claptrap if somebody put the wrong thing on yours, or you could scrap the right one off of someone else's as part of that. You end up discarding, and if you have 2 matching parts, so say you're trying to build the wizard and someone has put 2 pirate parts on yours, you can discard those, and then you've also got your action cards that you can discard, and then you're going to draw back up to 5 from the stash. So that is exactly how simple it is. It's very easy to throw down and get into a quick game while you're waiting for something. And it has some pretty fantastic art. And these are the art pieces that are on the action cards.
So just a strange curiosity, but if anyone isn't familiar with Borderlands, it is a very, very big brand from multiple different areas. So video game is probably the most obvious that people know it as. But in addition to the video game, there's been comic books, there's been novels and regular books. There is also a film that is coming out on Borderlands that started production earlier this year, and it's got Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart in it. So pretty big names associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Jack Black playing Claptrap too.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
So I'm pretty excited about that one.
This is something that, as we have more casual foot traffic walking into stores, people are looking for things that, their kids or the grandkids have told them, hey, here's the things that I like. Borderlands is probably on that list. So.
Yes, for sure. And from the sales perspective, I've been watching our movement over the last few months, and it, had some low movement at the beginning of the year, but the second that stuff came out, it tripled instantly, like the amount that we're selling through distribution. We've been in ACD already, and so it's pretty proven. So definitely something that will move off your shelves this holiday season. All right, so Geek and Sundry gave us a good little quote here of being a hell of an intuitive quick play game to pass the time. Definitely something that, you know, you've got your nice little tea cakes that Lauren made there, while you totally explode someone's claptrap. So, all right, this is our big reveal. This is something that for the first time was revealed to general distribution and sales, and anyone had seen it outside of our internal team was on Friday. So this is going to be coming. It's Bigfoot Roll and Smash. It is a collaboration that is part of the IP with Bigfoot. They are supporting us in this, and it's going to be really exciting from a marketing perspective to be able to do that. This is planned to be straight to retail. It will not be crowdfunded, going straight to retail, available at Gen Con 2022. And we are going to be doing a pre-order on this that is going to be probably starting in the early spring. So to show you guys, these are the player boards, and these are the player markers. So you are going to play Bigfoot and Snakebite, among other characters. And your job is to, let me see here, using this board, which this definitely looks a lot like a toy. This is something that we're very much, if you're in the Target aisle and you're looking at the glass cases that have the assembled Legos, things like that, that is definitely something that is going to get people's attention, and will be a really fun crossover between the toy demographic and the board game demographic. And Game Trays is helping us out again with, did I put that? I have all my notes here because it's all brand new. It's right now in Primary Creative, so we are getting all of these things right now from Art. Our Target MSRP is going to be a $39.99 dollar amount, and it's going to still be not a toy. This is going to be a real board game, the same kind of thing that we're going for, a depth and complexity, so that you're going to be able to offer it to someone who is a non-gamer, but a bunch of gamers will be able to still really get into the strategy of this on a game night. It is movement programming, as well as drafting cards for your obstacles. And you see there are things on fire. There's a big, huge mud pit, things that you're going to be laying down and drafting out. It's also going to be a push your luck dice rolling kind of thing, like King of Tokyo, with this big beefy die right there. And when I say this die, there's going to be 4 of them. So I'm just going to show you right here. This is the one that I've printed on my home 3D printer, because we are still getting the STLs, but I think it looks a lot like a Price is Right wheel, and I kind of love that. It has the check marks are skills. Those are what you're going to be doing for upgrades and helpful things. And then the X's are the obstacles that you're going to have to throw down. And then the numbers are points for movement. So you're trying to get to the end of your run and hopefully not get stuck in an obstacle. So the monster truck tire dice are pretty amazing. And what I'm going to say is it's going to be a 1 to 6 player game with expansion. It's going to run about 45 minutes long, and it will be available for 8 years and up. So that one is going to be really big next summer and early spring, and I'm really excited about that.
And that's one, just so everybody knows, that's not in the system right now. That's nothing that you can like go in and pre-order just yet. But once we do, this is, like I said at the beginning of this call, this is the first time that we're kind of introducing XYZ Game Labs to our retailers through us. So this is going to be something that is not a one and done by any means whatsoever. This is going to be these games, and the games moving forward are going to be in our catalog for y'all.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty much it from us. If you need to get a hold of us, you can always email sales@xyzgamelabs.com. We do have a wholesale link on our website, and we plan to keep that more updated with retailer resources. We're going to try to put up some assets for you, some shelf talkers, some hopefully some short videos. That way you guys can have that if you do any digital billboard type things. And we're also hoping to put up some social media that you can images that you can co-brand, and then also put up copy, just give you lots of tools to help you get all of the word out.
That is awesome. Yeah, there was a comment in chat earlier, and some people may have missed it, but I just wanted to kind of jump back and make sure everyone saw it. Derek had asked about demos for the games, or display units, depending on how you're kind of using demo space in your stores. We are setting up XYZ Game Labs to be part of the formal program that GTS has, which is where if you're a storefront store, you can buy a base game at 25% of SRP. So that should all be set up here in the next day or two. Once that's done, you're more than able to, get a hold of your sales rep, let them know they can get one put on order for you. Archravels is definitely one that would do really, really well to be out, because you've got the combination of the game trays, you've got all those wooden pieces. It's something that is a very visual game just on its own. And it's a game that, like we talked about earlier, it's very approachable, right? Like, again, show me anyone that can pick up a Snuffleupasaurus card and be angry. Not going to happen, right? It's
like
just,
it.
You pick that up, you're going to laugh, you're going to kind of joke around a little bit, and you're going to, immediately sit there and kind of push things around the table and play things with it and try and figure things out. The other nice thing about the Borderlands game is that if you have a demo of that game, it is very small space. It doesn't take up a massive amount of space in the store. So depending on what kind of tables you have in the store, what kind of display cases you have, that can be really good for displays as well too. So, but if you do have questions, definitely reach out to your GTS sales reps. We'll be able to get that set up for you and get everything going. I did put into the chat here, I'll make sure it's on the YouTube video details as well. I put the item codes in for both the Borderlands game and for Archravels, so you can place orders for those. Derek, you made a comment earlier, just make sure you saw it. I did put a comment in, but it is opened up that you should be able to do web orders for them. If it's not, it may just be like a slight delay in updating the website on stuff like that, but it should be ready, if not now, by the end of the day for sure. But all that is really good. And always, like I always like to say, Rachel and Lauren, this is not a one and done thing for us either here for the webinars. So as you guys bring out the monster truck game, as you bring out more, exciting games from the lineup, we'd love to have you come back and be able to talk to the retailers about it. So this is definitely not a one and done type thing.
Awesome. Well, we'd love to come back.
We would love to have you. I want to look at that chair Lauren has more and more. Like she looks like sitting on a throne. I love it.
She's so regal, and you got Joni right there to her.
I know,
that's
she's
awesome.
a real queen of the throne.
That's awesome. That's cool. Well, I really appreciate it. Retailers, thank you very much. As always, you can reach out if you have any questions. Obviously, here you can see on the screen, you can reach sales at xyzgamelabs.com. You can reach out to me anytime if you have questions as well. My email is just smorris@gtsdistribution.com. More than happy to answer things for you. Derek just asked, is there an online location for digital assets? Yes, actually, that website that's on the very bottom right there. So if you go to xyzgamelabs.com/wholesale, there's some stuff out there right now. And as Rachel mentioned before, they're going to be adding some stuff as well over time with the new games and the new releases that come out too. So that can be a good thing to bookmark for sure. So
awesome.
Cool. Well, retailers, thank you. Really do appreciate the time. Just as a reminder, we are starting to slowly wind these down. In fact, I believe next week is going to be the last week we may have them. We might go into the second week of November. We'll have to kind of see how that paces itself out. But as we get closer to the holiday time, we want to open up your guys' time, let you have time to focus on store sales and of your inventory, the most fun thing everybody has, every year. But just give you all time to be able to take care of everything you need to take care of. So, but if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out anytime. We'd be happy to help. And Rachel and Lauren, thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time and coming to talk to the retailers about it. Really excited to have you guys be part of the catalog right now. I think these are great games, and I'm really looking forward to more. So really do appreciate you taking the time to come join us.
And we appreciate the time that all of these retailers took out of their day to come and see us. So.
For sure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone have a great week in your stores, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.